A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Films I'm Willing to Talk About Again. This is probably one of the only times that I've actually gotten around to watching a film again, just so it could be fresh in my mind. And so I'm proud to present to you, again, National Treasure. This was released in 2004 and stars the likes of Harvey Keitel, Jon Voight, and the almighty Nicolas Cage. The plotline basically shows that codebreaker and historian Ben Gates is out there looking for answers related to an ancient piece of archaeology that had been lost centuries prior. And so what ends up happening is a rather interesting adventure, by all means. As crazy as it might sound, this is probably one of the only occasions that you might ever get to see somebody literally steal the original Declaration of Independence. And I do feel like there's so many other things out there that could possibly be explained, but in all seriousness, this is in fact one of many things that most historians and archaeologists might actually have to go through just so they can find certain mysteries and discover many lost arts that were out there throughout history. We've seen Indiana Jones do such things out there, we've seen Nathan Drake do such things, Lara Croft, and who could forget in that one segment in 1000 Ways to Die, where a guy called Dutch tries to steal an ancient artifact from China and ends up getting SARS from bats. So, in any case, there's lots of risks that historians will in fact end up doing just to find very, very rare treasures and discover anything that had been lost in history. And so throughout the past few decades, it certainly has been quite a ride, but getting to know an adventure series like this, the National Treasure series by any means, in the same way that there was a book series, the film series, starting in 2004, did show us something rather interesting. But I also do feel that with the sequel, which had been regarded as one of the best Nicolas Cage films ever possibly made, that's where it gets taken up even higher. And in this particular case, we are looking for what could be another sequel, because if the second film was a lot better and regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, then it would probably make sense to have a third film. But that actually ended up happening. Yeah, a National Treasure 3 actually was announced. But at some point in time I will in fact be talking about the sequel, National Treasure 2, which of course came out 3 years later in 2007. But as for the first film, it certainly does a lot of the same things that you might expect from a good majority of other adventure series. This one actually goes as far as to use the Declaration of Independence itself in order to try to find something out there that has in fact been locked away for so long. But just like any other adventure series, there's always a rival historian who's always going to go after the main protagonist in an attempt to use the artifact for himself. Just like what we've noticed in a lot of these other archaeologist and history-based adventure series out there in the film industry. Ben Gates does in fact become comprehended with the challenges that are already faced, in addition to another historian who is out there looking for the same answers and codes that were already broken by Gates' team. I really do feel like that with the usage of the cast and the comedy as well as the majority of other aspects, that's kind of what makes this film somewhat memorable. It was rather successful at the box office too, spanning more than $340 million, but does in fact perceive some rather average ratings by critics and reviewers across the world. So even to this day, with it becoming a rather big cult following, one that has been very well regarded, as opposed to the majority of other Nicolas Cage films that we've seen. Raising Arizona, The Ant Bully, Wicker Man 2006, Ghost Rider 1 and 2. There's probably a lot of examples out there. But in any case, I do feel that this is one of, if not, the best that you might get to see out of Nicolas Cage. But as for any other adventure series, I feel like that Uncharted, Indiana Jones, and Tomb Raider might actually be higher than the good majority that we've seen so far. And so with that in mind, that just pretty much concludes this ordeal relating to National Treasure. Yet, it is not over yet. I will be talking about the sequel soon enough. But first, stick around till tomorrow, because I will in fact be talking about a little something out there that Jim Carrey had been well known for.